Hello and try that again. Hello and welcome back to Retro Bits and Bobs, the second channel of Retrobytes. And if you're not sure what Retrobytes is, it's a computer science textbook set to jazz music. Yeah, it's been a little while since the last video about the Acorn Electron, and I said I was going to come back and talk about the Plus2, and it's definitely going to get some mention, but a new thing arrived in the post. Yes, in my quest to make the ultimate Acorn Electron, and I'm defining ultimate as the longest, I got another little thing from Retro Hardware. The Plus2. Yes, you may think this looks identical to the Plus1, and it kind of does, but as you'll see, it's got a little expansion connector on the end, unlike the Plus1. This thing can sandwich in between the Plus1 and my Plus3, making for an even longer Electron and 2 more cartridge slots. Now you might be thinking, 2 more cartridges, is that really that useful? And I'd say yes, because I always seem to want to get 3 cartridges in at once and can't. But there is also another really nice feature or 2 lurking in this thing. Now, if we look at the side, we have an ability to bring additional bits of power in that can either just power the expansions or can run the whole thing. Now, given that my box is quite power greedy due to the, floppy drive having to hang off of it, I thought that would be quite useful. But if we pop the little lid that's on top, which is quite well fitted, sorry, I'm going to do this off camera so I can actually see it. As you'll see, we have some handy support ROMs in there, but we're going to have to take it apart to access it. But there's a little connector just in there you can't see. I'll open it up in a second and fit the thing I'm going to fit into it, but that lets you attach either an internal tube, like second-hand on there, or anything that goes on the 1 megahertz bus, using a nice little riser card thing. Now, I got to physically meet up with Dave at the RISC-OS show in Warrington, and I picked this up off him. So, this little board, that gives us a 1 megahertz bus out of there, and we have a little Pi 0 added onto it. Now that thing's loaded up with a bit of software that pretends to be a BeebSCSI module. So it emulates BeebSCSI, and I think the Music 500 as well. And that means that we can have a hard drive sat inside our Plus2. Yes, our little Acorn Electron can have an emulated hard disk, because thanks to the ADFS ROM we use in the Plus3, yet that does actually support hard disks. If you got the expansion with the 1 megahertz bus on it, you could attach a hard drive that, to be honest, is bigger than the Acorn Electron, but you could have had a 20 or 40 meg hard drive attached to one of these things. I mean, much more commonly they're attached to a BBC Micro, but we can attach one to an Acorn Electron, and that's what this is emulating. It's emulating a SCSI interface and then the hard drive on top of that. So in a moment or two, I'm going to take all this apart and pop this in. We also have some chips to go inside the AP6 that's on our Plus1. I'm going to have great fun leveling the dial up for this. So I have a little EEPROM that can go in there, so we can start flashing things directly into ROM sockets. So we can software load. And we also have, I think, is this the Dallas Semiconductor one? Somewhere I also have a little sideways RAM chip to go in there as well on the AP6, so we can just soft load ROMs or have sideways banks of memory for applications that use the sideways banks. So, for example, Mark Moxon's done a updated version of Elite for the Electron. That relies on a sideways bank of RAM, but that restores most of the missing things from the BBC version. So finally, we can fight Fargoids on our Acorn Electron. Right, quick camera reposition. That's going to need a get it to not look terrible. I've moved it so you can see me taking the AP6 apart. So the AP6 plus 2 even. The AP6 is in the Plus1. Right. Again, it's got a really surprisingly nice case for 3D printed. I'm becoming increasingly impressed with how well some people can 3D print things. I don't know if I need to take every single screw out, but I'm going to do anyway. yeah, I'm gonna have to finagle a little bit, I think, yeah. Yeah, I just have to kind of fish it just round the back of there. See, he's putting like a little slope on the case so that it actually fits properly. Oh, that's quite cute. Right, very neat. Get this all back together. Is that not quite closer to my face and less on camera? Right, we'll just pop that like that. Little card sitting in there. Yeah, that sat comfortably enough. I can pop the little lid back on. I was going to say I could access this too, but I can probably just about pull that thing out. I'll try now. Right, time to fit the EEPROM. Now we have sockets, ROM socket 5 there. And where's ROM socket 6? Oh. Let me drop my glasses into the camera. Oh, there we go. There's ROM sockets 5 and 6. Now, the reason you got this combined 5 and 6 socket is this is a 32K. If the camera will focus on it, 32K EEPROM. Now, normally you can only do 16K banks in the socket, but thanks to the way in which he's wired this socket, we can actually drop in a single 32K chip. Oh, this is going to be exciting to do on camera. Because when looking at how to do this, my camera's kind of where my face would ideally be for seeing what's going on. So, I don't want to mess up the pins. You might have to excuse me for a second. Where this is less visible on camera than it is to me. Oh, the pin's ever so slightly out. So I'm just going to adjust them for a moment. Right, last little bit on camera there. There we go. The ROM is in properly. And it's the right way up. Right, we do actually have to set some jumpers on this thing. And again, Dave's given us a lovely manual. So it's jumper 5 we need to set. And we need to set it so that it is in its 32K mode. So I think that's, yeah, close disable socket 5, yeah. So jumper 5 needs to be closed. So if we look at this little jumper block here, that one, we need to move jumper 5 to closed, which again, I'm afraid my eyes are not focusing on. Oh, that's not. Where's jumper 5? Ah, jumper 5's actually down in that corner there. I don't know if you see that. So I'm sorry, I'm going to have to get my nose near that so I can see what I'm doing. Because if you can see it, I can't. So that's removed. Jumper 5, and now I just need to mark it as, yeah, closed. Yeah, so it puts disable socket 5 and maps what will go on socket 6, 26. Now, do I need to do anything with jumper 6? Yeah, that needs to be open, and that is open. So there's jumper 6 next to jumper 5, and that one is open. So that's now configured properly. I need to work out what I'm doing with the other ROM slots. I did have a RAM chip I was planning on putting in this thing, which I need to go find what I've done with it. Well, so I found an SRAM chip. This one here. But this is not the one I ordered. But it's also not one I have ordered. So I think I might have been sent the wrong chip. This is a 1 megabit SRAM chip. And yeah, that's more memory space than the little Elk can actually address. So I'm going to not bother with the SRAM for now and put this back away. And I'll put the lid back on my AP6, reattach it, and we'll just have the EEPROM in there to start with. Yeah, that's not what I expected. That's, yeah, interesting. I may have some more jumpers I need to set quickly because I need the ROM socket in my Plus2 to work, and I think this might actually conflict with that. So I just need to check some jumper settings, and then I'll put the elk back together again. We're now gonna back the screws off a bit. Pop our +2 in. Oh, in you go, +2. Pop our +1 back on. Right, so I did have some jumpers I need to disable. I had to close jumper 1 so that the ROM 13 socket was disabled, because I have the advanced tube module I'm planning on putting in the socket, and that clashes with it. And also I had to close jumper 2 to disable ROM socket 4 in this thing, because ROM socket 4 is where the ADFS ROM in the +3 maps in. So yeah, I did have a little bit of adjustment to disable sockets in the AP6. Whole thing's assembled. Now we just have to flip the ludicrous beast over. There we go. And now I'll just quickly slide the camera back so you can take this in its full ridiculous length. There we go. The world's longest Acorn Electron. I wonder if you can stick two +2 units on this thing. Right, I'll quickly throw a few cables in place, and hopefully we'll power this thing up and see it all running. Right, so I now have everything plumbed into my Electron. You can see my +1 with the AP6, +2, +3, and there's an Acorn Electron keyboard hanging around down here that I can tip-tap away on. Right, so the main thing is, let's have a little look at the emulated hard disk in the +2. So I'm in ADFS mode by default. If I do *, there we go. That's going to drive 0, which is the hard drive. That's pretty cool. Have we got another image on here? Oh yeah, there we go. We've got an extra image Dave set up on there. Don't know how many hard disk partitions are set up. Yeah, there's an empty one, and do you go all the way up to 3? Sorry, I'm typing at a funny angle here. Yep, there's the 4th hard drive partition. I think that's the maximum amount we support. So on 4, just want to mount properly. That should swap to the floppy drive. Yep. Oh, no, you can't see that. If I move the camera, you can see the floppy drive lights come on. It's trying to mount off the floppy drive itself, which we haven't got a disk in, so that is not going to work. Oh, very well. Try break that, and then on the connector port at the back of this thing, that's where we'd have the next drive coming off there. But if we've not got one cabled up, that's not going to work. If we do star ROMs, that gets us the ROMs that we got plugged in. So we had the basic ROM that the Electron ships with. We have the ADFS ROM, it's in the +3. That's in slot 4. And in slot C, we have the built-in helper ROM for this thing. Oh, sorry, that thing. We should be able to load some extra ROMs ourselves. And I'm going to see if I can get high basic in here, because I think I spotted that on the hard drive. Now, why? Oh, but have we got any sideways RAM in here? Start even would help. Oh, wow, okay, the BCPL stuff. We shall have a poke with that later. Right, so SR load. Now I want to load high basic. I think I've got ROMs. Oh, also I press the copy key, not the. I'm going to put that in slot. So we're using ROM slot 6. So I'll put that in slot 6. So slot 5, not a writable bag. Let's to unlock first. Space U. There we go. Right. Now that should have hopefully flashed that into the EEPROM. Might need to reboot. Yeah. There we go. In ROM 5, we have High Basic. I might try loading View next so I can word process like it's 1984. Yes, I'll load you. Right, let's stick it in View. And which slot did I put this one in? Pop that one fine, so I'm going to put this one in 6. Yeah, of course, the command star word to get into it, isn't it? Right. There we go. So oh yeah, it's caps lock on by default, isn't it? This was my first ever word processor. Do you want to? Oh, it's staying in caps lock mode. Right. Yeah, we go between command mode and edit mode, so that you save things and etc. on the disk. Is it exit to? Yeah, just reset out of that. So yeah, the ROM's done that. Now let's just lose power for a second and see if the EEPROM has kept it. That took a moment for the screen to resync. Yep, our ROMs are still in there. We can replace High Basic with something more interesting in a second. Oh, hang on. Control break. There you go. Now we're on the hard drive by default. Because it does take a moment for bimbles to start up. So sometimes you can kind of race it there. Well, there's probably quite a lot of stuff on here. Let's go to the Acorn ROMs again. What might be? I'm amazed the Pascal ROMs in there. Let's which ROMs I got where? Start. Right, let's replace the basic I put in 5 with the newer version of the Pascal ROM. Oh, keep forgetting the copy key's not in the same place in Electron as in the Vive, so that's going to go into not that right. Yeah, the Pascal ROM's in there. Yeah, still there. And there we go, we're at the Pascal prompt. So, see, edit to go into the editor? Yeah. God, just about remember this. Right. Breaks it, yeah, and because we're in the line run, we can go back to basic, yeah. That is quite cool. And that's now permanently in there, which is nice. I might want to add some more ROMs into this. I could do it getting a DFS ROM, so I can use DFS disks on there. I may even have a hardware ROM to pop in for that. But yeah, that's a little tour of all these things at the moment. We will come back to this. I'm also going to review that monitor thing at some point, but I need to email the creator of it because I am having the odd little problem with it, which is probably more me than it. So yes, some things are not abundantly clear to me as to how they function, so I might go have a look on his website and see if I can figure, because for just clarity at the moment, I am having to shove the Acorn Electron through that into the HDMI input of this. But there's a SCART socket on this that I should be able to go straight from Electron into monitor. But right now, that is not syncing. And there is probably a setting I need to set that I currently do not know how to set. Well, I think that just about wraps it up for Retrobytes Bimbles around with an Acorn Electron for a little while. If you got all the way to the end, once again, thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.